All right. Good afternoon. This is Penelope Flynn, Cranston, Otto, Nikki, Sonia, and did I get everybody? Me. Cranston, Sonia, Nikki, Otto, James. Right.
Mm.
Right. And we are
Yeah.
here on this lovely July 6th, 2025 edition of Discussions from the Otherhood. And as usual, we get it started with a little bit of the weather. James, you are top center. How is your weather?
Okay, right now it's 90 degrees. Um, they have an air quality alert, and I guess the today the bullet quality is low.
Well, I guess that's good, right?
Yeah, as long as you don't get hit by one.
As long as you're on
Yeah.
the, yeah, as long as you're on the right side of it, right? And
Yeah.
and Sonia, how about your weather?
It's beautiful here. It's 91 plus degrees because my thermometer only seems to register up to 91. But they do have
Wow.
a heat advisory for up here. So and then it's supposed to storm later tonight. So we'll see
Wow.
what happens.
You're getting
But
it
yeah,
all.
it's been really hot up here for up here
Mm.
So how's that lovely? No, I don't get it.
because I'm inside.
Oh, okay. Well, that'll do it. And how about you, Nikki? How's the weather?
It is cloudy and it's raining,
Okay.
and
Um.
it feels good too because
Oh,
it's like
good.
my bed degrees in here. I have my fan on and the air, so I'm doing well. I'm fine.
Excellent.
Mm.
And Cranston, how are you in the northern part of the state of
It's
Florida?
88 and overcast with scattered rain showers.
Did you need the rain or do you not need the rain?
Yeah. We needed the rain because it was getting too dry up here. So yeah, so we're happy.
Excellent. So I mean, it's always good to get it when you need it. And Otto, how's the weather? I know what you're gonna say, but say it anyway.
What am I gonna say?
That it's hot.
No, see that's wrong. See now it's July.
Hmm.
It's 83 degrees and cloudy, which is livable.
Okay, that sounds right. That sounds about right. So I'm glad that it's 83 degrees and livable in July
But
in
speaking of
Texas.
rain, so what's the latest with the flooding?
I mean, well, since that's Austin area, I think Kerr, they say it's Austin area. We aren't getting that because we're so much further north. In fact, I'm kind of surprised that at this time of year they are getting that kind of flooding. So, which I guess is why they're having that kind of flooding because nobody really prepared for it this time of year. So, I'm kind of shocked. That they said there's been so much, I guess, loss of life, but without the weather service, being completely active, what did you expect was going to happen? We
Mm.
don't know way ahead of time about these possible issues.
Yeah, because this guy's a maniac, and he took away FEMA and all this other stuff, and these people live in the hill country. There's a place called the Hill Country, and they live there and they worship this dude. So
Yeah.
the God, I guess their God gave them what they wanted.
Yeah, and
Hmm.
these people are sitting around waiting for the rapture and stuff like that, and they are. I mean, to them, I guess this is like their own personal end of days. So I guess they don't think this is what they expected. So they,
Well,
like
he
you
didn't
say,
exactly take away FEMA. He's going to get FEMA to pay for the internment camp they want to build in South Florida, and they also want to build the one up
Mm-mm-mm.
here.
what does that have to do with emergency?
Right. I mean,
Nothing.
Well,
basically, it's apples or potatoes. If you take away FEMA's main duties and stuff, is and they can't help people, you've taken away FEMA.
Well, what the problem is that they basically gutted the National Weather Service. That's the
Yeah,
problem.
that's taking it
Exactly.
away.
Hmm.
That's taking it away. Only Rapture
And
I'm
why? And
interested.
why do that? What is?
Yeah, because he's nasty, and the people who are suffering want it to happen or like it because it's the Rapture. The only Rapture I'm interested in is Anita Baker's album. That's about it.
Hmm. All right. Well, on that note, let's get a move on and to our topic, which are Trump Lloyd films, the unreliable narrator. And we kind of coined the term Trump Lloyd because the whole point of Tromp Lloyd is French for, to trick or to fool the eye. And because, films are a visual media, then how is it that, we watch these films and we're, pretty smart people, but we are fooled by these films that have these unreliable narrators? And so I guess we'll just get started to discuss some of these films, some are more recent than others. And whether or not you all, I mean, some people will look at things and say, oh, I saw that. I knew that was what's going to happen. And other people will say, I had no idea. Some things are really transparent. But what do you think? I mean, is there any one particular film that you think is the epitome of the Tromp Loy unreliable narrator film that you just had no idea until the ending? And like, oh my gosh, now I see.
I think Penelope, you have to talk about the what triggered this is that new film by what's his name on it, called Straw.
I mean,
You
you
know,
can
Tyler,
answer with that. You can answer with, talking about that. Go ahead.
yeah, the Tyler Perry is kind of like it tries to be like that, but I think the apex film like that is Fight Club, and the
And why do you
reason
think? Yeah, go ahead. Why do you think Fight Club?
and the reason is that way is because you're watching the entire film and you have no idea that when you reach the end that you've been watching a different film.
Has everyone seen Fight Club?
Yeah,
No.
Tyler Durden?
Mm-mm.
No. McCranston, you've seen it, of course,
I've
right?
seen it. Yes.
Of course. And yeah, I mean, I think Fight Club is very good for that because yeah, by the end you don't know until the end, and then you know.
And you see
And
what this guy's been doing, right?
yeah, yeah, all along. So yeah, I think Fight Club is an excellent film for the unreliable narrator because we follow this story all the way through from the perspective of this one individual and get to the end and find that it's something different than what we thought.
I hear
I
somebody
mean,
talking in the background.
yeah, I don't have anything on.
My roommate just got a call, so it might be her.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so yeah, I think that Fight Club definitely that is one of the top ones. But I thought you certainly were going to say The Sixth Sense.
I
Yeah,
was gonna
that's.
say that.
Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah, Sixth Sense I think is like really
you
they
think the
get everybody.
Sixth Sense is more tricky than Fight
Oh
Club?
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely, because they make it at such a point. Like I remember seeing an interview with the editor, and he was saying, he did the film editing, and they did I guess the when they originally showed the film to whoever that group is that they first show it to gauge people's reaction, and he's like, okay, in the film, the kid's saying, I see dead people, you know, I see them all the time. He said he's looking right at him when he says it. He's
Hmm.
looking right at him when he says it. Everybody is going to figure it out. So he's there in the theater. He's watching. He's with M. Night, and he's like, nobody, nobody got it. No, he said they looking right at him when he's saying it, and just no one picked it up. So he said, and so that makes it even better that they just tell you right there to your face, and we
Hmm.
still didn't get it. So that's why I think it's so great that they're right there to the little boy. When I saw that commercial, and I said, I don't like Bruce Willis, but I want to see that little boy say, I see dead people. So I definitely went to see Haley Joel Osment had me, right there to the commercial. I thought, yeah, what great
Well, it's a good trick too because you got Bruce Willis, who was kind of hot at the time, and
Hmm.
if what you're saying is right, of course we know what you're saying is right, but basically they killed him in the first 3-4 minutes of the movie.
Yeah. How cool is that? It's even better than one of the other major misdirection films, which is Psycho, where Janet Leigh is killed in the first half of the film. And we are watching this film feeling so bad for this guy that put up with his crazy mother and all this, mother blood favorite line. So you have that. I mean, they killed her like the first what 15 minutes of the film,
Yeah.
and in Sixth Sense, he was killed in the first 5 minutes of the film.
Yeah, I got Bruce Willis.
Hmm.
At least he gets to like be seen in the rest of the movie.
Well, that's true too. This is true, and which is another trick because at least we know Janet Leigh. We thought she's a big star, so she's going to be in through the rest of the film, and they didn't put her through the rest of the film. She's just gone. With him, they trick us because he's dead in the first 5 minutes, yet he is in the rest of the film. So yeah, that very tricky, very tricky. I think that is one of the best films for misdirection, for that Tromp, the unreliable narrator, because we're watching him living on his wife, saying life, complaining that his
Yeah,
wife is not talking to him, all
he's like
this.
he's interacting with people.
Right.
But see the thing with Straw. I don't know how many people saw that film Straw, but the issue is that one of the characters, one of the main reasons why you watch the film is what's happening to the person's daughter, and she's not really there, right?
Yeah, and the problem, I think, has anybody not seen Straw?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
No,
You
I
haven't
haven't
seen
seen it.
Straw? Wow. Okay. What's one of the most recent Tyler Perry production, and it does fall into this category. Everybody wants to call it, a twist ending, but it really is an unreliable narrator type of film.
You
I
said
don't.
Tyler Perry.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably why I haven't seen it.
Well, wait a
But
minute.
so many people say, "Oh my God!" So this, that, and the other, and we, took a gamble and saw it and think, okay, yeah, it is a film. I mean, I saw it primarily because Taraji P Henson was in it, and like to support, people who are out there doing the thing. But I mean, some was very overwrought, and to be a film where you have an unreliable narrator, it does not follow a lot of the unreliable narrator rules, which is you have an individual. Granted, part of the stuff that they see and say may be warped, but how can what somebody else says that they don't actually ever see, that they're not in the room or they're not in the car or something like that, how is it that they can have that in their head and other people reacting to it and it's not real? So it was kind of skewed because we never know what at the end what was real and what was not real. It's very confusing.
Well,
Just kind of.
it's kind of like Fight Club. I think I guess most people have seen Fight Club, kind of, but it's like you don't know what's real, what's not real in Fight Club. Especially if you
But
get to the
but
end, when you get to the end and look back, it's like, wow, that guy was doing that.
but no, but at the end of Fight Club, and you say, "Oh my gosh, he was doing that," then you do know what was going on all the time. And this thing, because we know, okay, in this thing he's being Tyler Durden, and this time he's being his other self. And we see Tyler Durden as Brad Pitt. When we see the Tyler character, that Brad Pitt is a person we see,
Yeah,
but in reality, it's
yeah,
not.
you hear, the Brad Pitt character having sex with the guy's girlfriend, and he said, "Yeah, I can see Brad Pitt stealing that guy's girlfriend and having sex with her."
Yeah,
And then the guy walks past the door, and he hears, Brad Pitt having sex with his girlfriend. That's the thing that you think, well, and not
yeah, and
necessarily you like it, but that's happening. So
right. And then of course we discover, no, this is all him. You know, him and his crazy, crazy, crazy brain. So it's really good. But and the other thing, you can't tell them what is real and what is not, because you have a whole segment where she's reacting to someone about a certain thing that happened at her daughter's school, but she never ever entered the school. In the end, you find out she never entered the school. So none of that stuff happened. So since none of that stuff happened, then what actually did happen? It just made no sense.
Well, the daughter's not in the entire movie either.
But she is in the section when they're in the school.
Well, there's a point in the movie where you stop seeing her.
Right, but the whole big deal was that she was at school. She took her to school, and then they went inside, and then they said, "Oh, we're gonna that you didn't come bring the money or whatever the heck she didn't do." She goes back to the school. She sees her daughter, and they said, "We're taking your daughter to CPS or whatever the Child Protective Services is, wherever they live." And she sees her daughter's, and they're dragging her away. Right? That never happened.
Right, that's true. That's true. That never happened.
Yeah,
There's nothing in these movies that never happened. It may have happened a different way, but there's nothing in these Trunk Lloyd movies that never happened. For
that
instance,
did not happen.
you have in Psycho, you have what's his
Hmm.
name, and you think that's his mother. His mother is a stone cold knife wielding bitch.
Yeah, but she's not, because maybe she was at some point in her life, but certainly not in this film. And we have somebody in the chat and asking, would you say a film like A Christmas Carol falls into the same category? Now that's a weird thing, because then you'd have to say that Ebenezer Scrooge is off his nut, right? If he is really not seeing the ghosts.
Well,
I
the
mean,
thing is twofold because
mhm.
you got the Christmas past, right? That happened.
Well, you see, here's the thing. I know with editors, you know, in in the literary world, that whole unreliable narrator, you have to be careful with, because unless it's done precisely, a lot of editors don't like that. Just like a lot of editors don't like that you go through a story and then when you get at the end, it does a Dallas where it was all a dream.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I know from writing and books, you know, it's like the first person, the third person, that's fine. But when you get the unreliable narrator, and especially with a dream sequence, a good portion of the time, if you submit that to an editor, in fact, I know one editor of a horror magazine, they will reject it outright. It has to be done precisely. Okay. Um.
But that's a problem because people other than you can't share your dream. You can't share a dream. So if you're talking about like Fight Club or Psycho, that really happened. Now he may have dressed up as his mother, but as an audience member, you don't know that's not his mother. You think that's his mother.
Well,
That's talking. Yeah,
I, yeah, I think not to cut you off, but I think with Psycho, what made it work was the fact that Janet Lee was killed halfway, not even halfway near the beginning of the movie. That was a shock
yeah.
to people, and once that happened, okay, people wanted to stay and see, well, what's going on now.
And the
You know,
point of view of the film shifted.
yeah,
And she's a
Well,
star.
well,
She was
the
the
thing
most. She was the
about
most famous. She was the most famous actor in that film.
yeah. At the time, her and Tony Curtis, they were like Hollywood royalty. You
Yeah,
know, it's nothing. It's nothing they did that people would sour on. You know, except for, even though I like the picture, the movie Sweet Smell of Success. You know, that
yeah,
was their
yeah.
production company
I
that
like that
did
movie
that.
too.
Yeah.
well, the thing about dream sequences is that they say it's a thing about you can't end the story by withholding information from the audience. And the thing is that you see everything about Norman along the way. You notice all the stuffed animals that he has in this place. You notice he has like peepholes
That's
badly
true.
drilled into the wall. So it sets up that this guy is not quite right, but you just don't know how unright he is.
Right, that's true. And if that's the case, why did we buy the story that his mother, that that's his mother? You know what I mean?
Right.
We buy into it because we hear a different voice and we see somebody that looks like a woman and dressed like a woman. So we buy the ticket. We buy the ticket that that's his mother because he says
Yeah,
it.
I mean, and especially the part with um him and Martin Balsam, where he comes
Wow.
out the room
Yeah, yeah, that's one of my
and stabs
favorite
her.
scenes ever.
Which I will say that for a couple of seconds, I was kind of, wait a minute, this woman coming out of the room with the knife looks
Hmm.
kind of muscular.
Did you did you think that?
Yeah, I
I
kid
didn't think
you
that
not.
at all.
When listen, when I first saw it eons ago, in fact, when I saw it, I just attributed to, okay, they got a stunt person, and maybe they didn't get the right, size stunt person, because I was looking for like a petite, little old lady to come out the room saying hello, you
Yeah,
know.
like an
So
80-year-old woman or something.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's so for a split second I thought it was just due to the stunt man. But then when you realize it, they kind of, Hitchcock kind of gave you the answer right there in your face.
Yeah, like
Hmm.
Francis said, it's right there in your face. But the
Yep.
way the way that the mother attacks Martin Balsam, she stabs him and she follows him down the stairs. He's falling down the stairs, and then she jumps on top of him, like almost in a sexual pose,
Yeah, and
and continues a sexual position and continues to stab him. And you think woman?
yeah, yeah, and I must say, of course, you guys know that I have a weird sense of humor. I just kind of found it hilarious the way Martin Balsam went down the stairs
I
backwards.
think it was fantastic. I thought it was
I
fantastic.
thought it was.
That was a
I
great
thought
shot.
Hmm.
I well, see, that's the. I just thought it was kind of weird because he's like going
I
for
mean, yeah, and the look on his face because he is seeing what we don't see.
right.
So
That's a
he is
great
like
shot. That's a
freaked
great shot. That was a
out.
great shot by Hitchcock too.
Yeah,
Well,
fantastic.
to me, it's like I was more like, okay, shouldn't he be tumbling down the stairs? You know, but that's but see, none for none. That's the greatness of Hitchcock because Hitchcock tended to film things because he had a different way of looking at things.
Hmm.
You
Yeah.
know, so that's what it is. Now, the only thing I can think of that comes to mind that may be related to this was it Trump O'Neill?
Trump Lloyd.
Trump O'Neill.
Trump Lloyd.
Trump O'Neill.
Trump Lloyd. Trump Lloyd.
Okay.
French.
All
Trump
right.
Lloyd. Fool the
Trump.
eye to trick the eye. Trump Lloyd.
All
Trump
right.
Lloyd.
Okay. Trump versus O'Neill.
Okay,
Anyway,
whatever. Okay. Okay. Whatever.
the only thing I could think of that comes to mind is an episode of The Twilight Zone with Jack Klugman and I think Richard Kiley, where it was I think Rocket Ship X, where it was they supposedly landed on this planet and they had crashed and they were trying to get off the planet, but at the end, spoiler alert, they realized that they were dead because they kept going through the same
Oh
sequence
yeah, over
of
and over
events
again. Yeah.
before the spaceship crash, which by the way was also the same spaceship I think from Forbidden Planet.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that episode.
Yeah, so that's the only thing. And then maybe something similar to that, which I found to be actually a Star Trek episode that actually scared me or made me feel uneasy, was the New Generation's Cause and Effect, where they kept
Oh
going
yeah.
in that loop over and over again. You know, so yeah, but the bottom line is you have to be very careful when it
No,
comes to.
what it
But
does
why did
is
that scare you? I was gonna say, why did that scare you? That one in particular.
I think because the fact that they kept going through that same event over and over again, and I was like, damn, that's excuse my French, excuse my French, okay,
not
Trump
French,
versus O'Neill,
not
but
French.
but uh okay, uh no, it's just that it's kind of creepy that you would be doomed to go through that
Hmm.
whole cycle over and over and over again. And then when they listen to, I guess, the ship's log, and Patrick Stewart is like, abandon ship.
Hmm.
So it's kind of, to me, that's the only Star Trek episode that I could think of that actually I was like, wow, that's really creepy.
Hmm.
Well,
Now I'm
it's
gonna go
like
back to a question before you go back. It said, does Christmas Carol fall into this category? Because that question's still out there. Because
I
you
don't,
said that what happened in the past happened. What's
right, but
happening in the present happens.
I
Uh
don't
huh.
think it does. I don't think it does to me because,
Okay.
and the reason I don't think it does is because Scrooge goes to bed and
Okay.
Yeah,
Scrooge dreams,
yeah.
and he dreams three dreams, or he dreams, and he can't share that with any. He's not sharing that with anyone other than himself. And one
Okay.
of the
Well. Okay.
I think one of the, go
Go
ahead.
ahead. So, well, he does interact, I guess, with the ghosts, but those ghosts don't interact with anyone else. But he does see what's going on, along with the ghost of Christmas present. He does see what's going on with other people in other places. Does that doesn't count?
No, it could have been a piece of overcooked roast beef
Okay, all
or,
right.
or
Okay. Spoiled
Okay,
bit of gruel or something. Okay, there we go. So you say
I
no,
think
that it's not. It's just a dream.
one of the Trump.
Okay, did we lose Otto? Probably. Okay. So we'll wait for the duplicate Otto to jump in to continue the sentence.
Well, I think one that is, to me, one that really does the thing about the unreliable narrator, and it does
Hmm.
kind of keep you guessing. Well, it doesn't kind of keep, does keep you guessing, and then at the end you wonder what exactly happened. Is well, there are two. That one that has it at the very end that you wonder about it, and the other is both by the same director. Is Memento is the first one.
Ah, I liked Memento. I really like that, and I mean, I guess you're right. That is like right up in your face, unreliable narrator, correct?
Yeah.
Because he.
I dropped off.
Oh yeah, we heard. Yeah, we realized you dropped off. We were waiting for you to get back.
Well, I
But
was gonna.
in the
Okay, go ahead.
meantime, Cranston was saying that a film that he thinks is this unreliable narrator trope is Memento, and I love the film Memento. But I mean, I mean, he's like per se unreliable because he can't remember anything. So I think yeah, that is an interesting film, and he's all over the place, because he can't remember anything, which leads me to the questions like maybe he's actually somewhere laying in a hospital, just having this stuff run in his head. Don't you all think that's a possibility? Because it doesn't make sense to me that a person with the kind of malady that he has could actually function in the world. What do you think, Cranston? It's your your piece?
I think it could be that yeah, that there's definitely something wrong with him, and also the people. But and you see everything is from his point of view because you don't know where these notes are coming from. Did he really leave all these notes? Did he really leave all these things written on his body so that he could find them later? And then you find out that he can't trust anybody that he's having interactions with, and you see them like switch up on him in the middle of a
Hmm.
conversation or something. And the more you realize when he talks about it, he has like the flashback and he says that, well, maybe, somebody did this other than the one he was looking for. So,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was all over the place. Kind of a scary film
mhm.
with that, but I don't see how you let somebody like that walk around in the world at all. You know, he should
Well,
not be in the world.
yeah. Well, that's the other part. You said, yeah, okay, so how is this guy doing this? Is he just like undiagnosed or unmedicated, and that's why he's running
Yeah,
around doing these things?
it has to be something like that because otherwise, how can you survive in the world at large? I just don't think you could. You know, how would you remember whether or not you ate? You know, and certainly if you had to be on medication, you would never remember taking it.
Hmm.
So I thought I liked the film, but yeah, I think that person in my universe, he probably wouldn't last a week.
Hmm.
He would just be dead. If only because he forgot to eat. Forgot to drink water, walked out in front of a car because he forgot what red light, green light means. I don't know.
Again, when it comes to the unreliable narrator, you have to get it right. You have
Absolutely.
to get it right. I personally think is more miss than hit, to tell you the truth, with a lot of writers. I mean, there's an obscure book. I can't even remember the title of it. It's written by a Frenchman though. Um, where I think it's a collection of stories, and the characters in the stories are basically people that have just had their head cut off by guillotine.
Okay.
And yeah, and he basically, I guess, they basically tell their story within the last couple of seconds before they realize that their head is off.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, to say that it's a rare book is an understatement.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I in fact, I guess the reason why I can't remember the title of it is because I said no, I don't think I want that on my reading list.
Okay. Okay. Well, I mean, but how did you find out about it?
Well, see, that's of course, me being the macabre, strange person that I am. I tend to look for rare, obscure, strange books, especially when it comes to books dealing with the genre that I write in, which
Hmm.
is the occult. So I come across a lot of weird shit. Put it this way.
Okay. We'll give you
Okay,
that.
yeah, but yeah, it's. I mean, if you get it like the Sixth Sense, if it's done right,
Hmm.
okay, like the Sixth Sense is cool, but if not done right, your reader or the person that's watching your film or whatever, they're gonna be like, well, what the f did I sit through or spend my time reading this all the way to come to this end, you know. Um, I mean, I know for sure my sister, she's the type of person that if it gets near the end and it's just not working, she will not pick up that book again.
Really?
Yeah,
She just
yes,
leave it.
she
Could take give
she
an
will.
opportunity to.
Yeah, to this day, don't mention Stephen King's It to her.
Really?
Yeah, because she got to the point where she said, "You know what? Screw you. I'm not going to finish this book later for you." So yeah, you have to be careful. That's why you know basically it's like this. People love a twist,
Hmm.
but it's a twist that they can understand.
Right, right.
You
It
know,
can't be
and
too crazy.
yeah, and also it's a case of some people, if all fairness on the author or director's behalf, some people just don't have the attention span to take in a lot of
Hmm.
information. I mean, I know some people that you mentioned. In fact, I was going through my closet today. You mentioned the movie Cloud Atlas.
No, huh?
Yeah, people are like, no. And I mean, I had to sit through it a bunch of times before I got used to that, but I got it.
No, the thing about Cloud Atlas that I think was really underrated and really good is when I heard about the movie first, so I got the book and I read the book. And the thing about it is that it's six stories that it goes through the book, and then in each one of the six stories, like in the middle of it, and it goes to the next story up to the middle. Then it finishes that one, and then it counts back down to the beginning.
Hmm.
But it is so crazy. And in the first chapter, they end that first chapter in the middle of a sentence. And I said, wait a minute, did somebody rip a page out of here or something like that? And I went back and everything.
And then
And
what does it
then
ever pick up? Does it ever pick up that sentence somewhere else?
it picks it right back up in the last chapter of the book. It picks it up right in the middle of where that sentence ended and then counts it back down. And he said, okay, now that was really cool. And the crazy thing was in the director's commentary on the DVD, the directors are talking about how they had to do this and do that and everything, and how to make sure that everything fell into place. And the author had just said, "Well, all I did was I just cut and pasted. That was all I did." So, so
Okay, very good, very good.
it's,
Right.
it's,
Well,
it, it's
and then okay, so say in the chat, and you can't just put a thing down and show me say um how you want to be referred to, but I guess what I can do is just put it here. I think can you all see that? And they're saying how about the crossover between the Flintstones and the Jetsons, where it is theorized the Jetsons was our past, and after nuclear fallout, we got the Flintstones, aka our future.
okay. For me, that's just seeing too much. No offense no offense to the person in chat, but that's that's just seeing too much. Because growing up, the Flintstones were the Flintstones, the Jetsons were the Jetsons, and you know, back then you kind of hope for some type of weird crossover, which Hanna Barbera definitely, they were going to do it because they tend to cross over. They tended to cross over with a lot of their cartoon
Hmm.
characters, you know. So I don't know. I just didn't see a nuclear. I just wasn't that
But
dark.
but okay, but wouldn't that be almost the same thing like in what is it, Planet of the Apes, when they go back, they go into the future, and
Yeah,
then the future comes
yeah.
back into the past.
But
That's
see, with the Planet of the Apes, that was that was a nice twist.
yeah.
That's a lovely twist.
Uh-huh.
With Hanna Barbera, that was it was kind of just this cartoon, that cartoon.
But can you imagine if somebody actually did that with the Jetsons?
No, it would be
Very cool.
would be it would be in fact it would be nice if it maybe and this is coming from somebody that's kind of skeptical of reboots and reimaginations. That would be a nice storyline. Don't get me wrong.
well,
You
there
know,
was a long-running theory that the Jetsons and the Flintstones were happening at the same time, because you noticed that everything on the Jetsons was up in the clouds, nothing was on the ground.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, there we go. That's interesting. But
So
how do we then explain the what do you call the pterodons and pterodactyls, the flying things, the little airlines and stuff? They had the
Yeah,
flying that they
and
never flew up that
yeah,
high.
and nothing for nothing. I think I remember Jetsons episode where they threw something off of their sky apartment or something like that, and some uh bum dressed as a spaceman type bum
Mm-hmm.
was on the ground and picked it up.
Hmm.
You know, so
But was it at the ground or was it just a platform separating the two
no,
far enough high in the air?
I believe it was the ground. I
Okay.
believe it was
A
ground. I did,
spaceman
Well, now
bum.
we got to
yeah,
find that episode and check it out.
yeah. Like I said, with stuff like that, that's fine. That would be a lovely limited series comic
Yeah.
or a
Yeah.
cartoon where this is it's kind of like I remember a couple years ago they had rebooted in comics Lost in Space, and in that version of Lost in Space, Penny and I forget the other sister's name,
Beauty.
Judy.
Judy, they were kind of fighting over Don, the
Okay,
Major
Penny's a
West.
little young for that, but okay.
Well, this is what I know, but this is what they had. I guess they had updated her age,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So yeah, I mean, if it's rebooted, fine. But back then it's just the Jetsons were doing this in the future, and Flintstones were doing this in the past. And see, even the Flintstones was kind of fudging it because at the time, from what I've read, at the time of the dinosaurs, you didn't have any cavemen.
Yeah, exactly. But it'd be boring if you didn't have dinosaurs.
Yeah,
Yeah, big boring
so
show.
see, that's what they call the magic of television.
All right. So let us get back then to our
the
Trump
one
Lloyd. And I know who was it was talking Otto when you got cut off. So hopefully you can back up and figure what it was that you were saying before that happened.
I think the question was whether Scrooge was Trunk White film
Yes,
or
we were
Christmas
talking
Carol,
about that. Uh-huh.
and I said the rule should be that it can't be a dream because the dream is can't you other people can't participate in the
It's
dream outside
subjective. Yeah.
outside of you. So you know, so Scrooge is dreaming, but going back to James' comment about the
But what
Twilight
if
Zone,
he's not dreaming? What if it really happened?
I think it's I think it has all the indications of a dream, which is like he's going to bed, he's dressed for bed, he's in the bed. I think it's a dream.
But what if it's
Yeah,
not? But
after eating some
what if it's a
overcooked roast beef.
what if
Yeah.
it is a supernatural occurrence? Then what?
Well, he's still not interacting with other people because he goes in the
Okay.
past.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right.
He
Yeah, I
goes in the
get it.
past. Yeah,
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that still holds up. That he's
I think
still
you have to
not.
interact with other. I think you have to interact with other people, like the Twilight Zone episode where they're operating on the lady and at the seven operations, in order to get her to look like everybody else because she wants to look like everybody else, and then, at the end of the episode, they tell her that the operation was unsuccessful, and so she's gonna have to go live with people who look like her, and then they reveal that she looks like Ellie Mae from the Beverly Hillbillies,
Mhm.
and then she has to go look like, and then she has to go live with everyone else. But throughout the entire episode, you're thinking this woman is some sort of monstrous thing or something that looks totally different, and it's the reverse. So that's sort of like
Everything's
a
relative, right?
yeah,
Everything's
it's like a
relative,
trunk Lloyd thing because you're not thinking those people look like that.
right? That's true. And they keep you in the dark the entire time, literally kept in the dark, where everyone is seen in shadow, or they're seen. And what do you call that when you have
silhouette.
your
Yeah,
silhouette? Thank you, silhouette. The shadow and silhouette. You see everyone that way. So you're like literally kept in the dark. Uh, and well, I'll post what was just said. in the chat. Here, what do you think of that? I think Inception crushed that myth of multiple people can't be involved in the same dream.
But is that a Trunk Lord movie?
Is
Well,
it?
something goes along with that. There are two movies. There are two movies that do that. One is, of course, Inception, where they say that you never let anybody know what your totem is because you keep that separate. But
Hmm.
then early in the movie, Michael Keane says that Elliot Page's character is even better at what she does um, than than DiCaprio's character. So in the end, is it really, did the mission really succeed, or does it end up that he was just imagining that because everything works out the way he wanted to? He gets his kids back, although you never see their faces.
Hmm.
He completes the mission. And then at the last shot where you see his totem spinning and you think, okay, that means that everything is okay. But just before it cuts off, it kind of snowballs. The
Well,
second
I would.
one,
Well, I mean, in the Inception, my thought was that if the thing continues to spin, he's in a dream. And if it stops spinning, that means that he's not, because that way it is actually being affected by the rules of physics.
mhm,
So it's supposed to stop. But if it keeps going, that means that he's still in the dream because the rules of physics would have
yep.
stopped it. That's what I thought.
So
And so
does
we're
it
waiting for it to
stop,
fall.
or does it? Is it just a? Does it stop because, does it stumble because it's faltering, or does it stumble because he's it's real?
But we never see it stop.
Yeah.
So we don't know what happened.
And the other one that does it is Minority Report, because after Tom Cruise's character gets captured and puts in the deep freeze, everything that
Hmm.
happens after that is like a wish fulfillment. So is it really, did these things really happen and he escapes? Or is that part of the dream that he's having, that, everything worked out and he's really still frozen? And True Crime did get spread nationwide, and Lamar actually won.
Actually, I would think that if he were to stay in deep freeze, seeing his son living his life as if none of that had ever happened, that would have been the perfect life, not to
Hmm.
come out. I think that if his perfect life would have been just keep me in, and I'm there with my wife, and I'm there with my child, and everything's, as James would say, just peachy. So yeah, I think him coming out of it, that's why I believe that it wasn't fake, is because if he had what he really wanted, his true dream life, I think that he would have stayed in. But maybe also the issue is if he gets to the point where he's ready to embrace truth, would that also be a dream? That he is embracing the truth, and even that's part of a dream life? I don't know. And you're right,
Mm.
because at some point, are we being fooled or tricked by this narrator who we know from the very beginning is already a little off because he's taking, the
Mm.
drugs to allow him to be in this state where he believes that he's still interacting with this child. How much of that is real? How much of that is not?
Okay. Well, that's why we're here now. I guess
Hmm.
because of Afrofuturism, but there's like a offshoot of Afrofuturism called Afro-surrealism.
Hmm.
Okay, and I think some of what we're talking about now would apply to Afro-surrealism, although I couldn't even tell you of a definitive book that's Afro surrealism. Maybe some people in the chat room couldn't come up with something, or maybe Sonia could probably look something up. But I do know the base the base of the foundation of Afro surrealism is like Jimi Hendrix, Prince, and there was oh god, his name escapes me. There was
Sun Ra.
No, Sun Ra is more the foundation of Afrofuturism.
Okay.
Yeah, him and Sun Ra, Octavia Butler, George Clinton, Delaney, the science fiction writer. They're the foundation of Afro, futurism. But
But you would
there
think
was
kind of like with Octavia Butler, with especially something like Kindred, which is like Afro retroism and Afro. I think that's more surrealism than others. 'Cause it's not future. It's kind of Afro retroism and maybe Afro surrealism. So she maybe kind of bridges those two things.
well, really, when you look at the big picture, she crosses all three.
Mm,
She's not, but most people see her as the foundation of Afrofuturism. And there
hmm
was oh, I think his name is Dumas. Dumas, not the Dumas for Russia, but there was a Dumas. He was a Afro surrealist writer from Brooklyn.
hmm,
In fact, unfortunately, he was murdered by the police in 1968 in Brooklyn. So some of this, I think, with the unreliable narrator,
hmm
you would probably find in Afro surrealism. In fact, I tell everybody right now, check out maybe Jimi Hendrix Burning of the Midnight Oil. Okay. That song is kind of an unreliable, narrator to it.
hmm Right. So I know we were backing up a little bit to Inception, and was that the other one that you raised, Cranston? You had Inception and
Yeah. Mhm.
okay,
And Minority Report.
and Minority Report. Okay, so if Inception and Minority Report being possible unreliable narrators because we don't know whether the people are in or out
Hmm.
when they are telling this tale, and it really gets, I think, even more complex when he and his wife avow that they had been living in one of those worlds, I don't know what we call them, those levels, and lived an entire lifetime, and then committed suicide to get out. Ah, and of course this the in the chat says another DiCaprio mindbender, Shutter Island, and I think
Mm.
Shutter Island does have elements of the unreliable narrator because we
Hmm.
are being given like part of the story which is true and part of the story which is false because he has to protect his psyche from the reality of what has actually occurred. So I think that is truly an unreliable narrator. And we get to the end before we realize that that there's a lot going on here and a lot of horror going on here that you basically have to be snapped in order to survive. But yeah, I do believe that Shutter Island is an unreliable narrator film.
And there's another one that may be in Unreliable Narrator, at least the way it was done, and that's Total Recall, the Schwarzenegger version, because there's so many flip flops back and forth where you find out that he is the one who has actually been working with the bad guy the whole time. And in that last scene, after the atmosphere comes out and everything, and he's standing there, and his girlfriend asks him, says, "Well, what if this is a dream?" And he says, "Well, we'd better, kiss now before we wake up."
Mhm.
And so the question is, do they wake up and find out it is a dream after that and the bad guys won, or did they really win and everything is going to be okay?
But
I don't know. Could you hold your thought 1 second, James? I just want to say one thing about that movie. In that scene where they're out in the atmosphere before the new atmosphere comes up, was that like some of like the worst puppet work that you've ever seen in your life?
and I love it, and it was
I
hilarious
know
too.
you did.
Hey,
It was
Billy.
totally hilarious because it was just so unbelievable.
Oh
You
wow,
know,
was it horrible?
you know it's a puppet.
And the
You know,
eyes all bugging
But hey,
like
for
that. Like,
but for 1990, whatever that was, it was cutting edge. So
yeah,
oh my
yeah,
god, it was
yeah.
horrible.
In fact, I don't even think. I think it was. They were more like animatronic.
I think it was like those kind of puppets that they use in the Land of Confusion video by Genesis. That is what that was. It was wow bad. Wow bad.
Oh yeah, yeah. That was a classic. But
And then how the
um,
eyes and stuff suck right back into place for the atmosphere to move in.
Mhm.
Wow.
well,
Wow, that was bad.
but incident at Owl Creek Bridge. I think
Oh,
with
yeah, but
yeah,
that's that dream. We consider that dream sequence or just right before you die thing.
yeah.
Life flashing before your wish fulfillment. Perhaps
Well,
we would describe.
I mean, when you look at it, it was a long life flashing before your eyes because you know he would and see, but see they gave a bit of a hint though, if I'm
Hmm.
not mistaken, because as he traveled, he was going uphill
Hmm.
or up an incline, which that well, first of all, considering who he was, I thought he would be going downhill.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
yeah, that was the little giveaway that they gave. Is that he was going uphill. Quote unquote, supposedly towards heaven. Um,
Yeah, and we saw how that worked out.
yeah, and in fact, I think Otto had mentioned that it was both on the Alfred Hitchcock Presents and the Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, of course, I mean that's one of my axes to grind against Rod Serling. For a person who is a writer of Jewish descent, he really, really was all in on the Confederates. You know, I never understood the um the constant banging the drum of like the honorable Confederate. You
Well,
know,
I
I,
think part of that I think part of that was horse trading.
mm,
Because at the time, in order for him to get his messages across, he had to do certain editing and certain writing, and had kind of slipped stuff under the radar. Because I mean, let's face it, at the time, this quote unquote solid South, there was a lot of people that had TVs.
mhm,
you know. So I mean, and again, I think I told you guys many times before, there was actually the Great Ghost TV show
mhm,
where he was a Confederate raider, and every week you tuned in to him outfoxing the Union Army, and they would be, gosh darn it, we'll get him next time, and all of that shit.
mhm.
So I think part of that was horse trading.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, I
Yep.
looked it up once because I wondered that all of these heroes and all these westerns were like cop shows back in the
Hmm.
50s and early 60s, and that all of these people, except for maybe two or three, I think Half a Gun with Travel and I think Branded were maybe the only two
Hmm.
western heroes that were actually former Union Army officers. And they
Hmm.
said the reason was that when the war ended, the North got off better, and so everything was pretty much the same. When the Southerners got back, everything was gone, so they had a reason to go out west because they were all trying to start over. So that's why so
Yeah.
many of the cowboys were former Confederates, except that
Hmm.
none of them ever talked about the fact that, I sure miss slavery because,
Yeah. Right.
And
But the
real.
thing is, the great majority of them would not miss it because the great majority of them were not slaveholders. The great
Yeah,
majority of
and
those people were just regular working people who didn't even have access. So of course, after everything was flipped upside down, then why not leave? Why not try something else? Because they didn't have anything to begin with.
But
and
the
and,
thing
and, and,
is,
and, and real quick, I think the network started to see the handwriting on the wall because the last couple of years of Rawhide, which Clint Eastwood and all the actors they were supposed to be ex-Confederates, they added a black character on there. What's his name? Raymond Saint.
Saint Jacques?
Yeah, yeah, he was on there for the last couple of, I think the last 2 years of Rawhide.
All right, then I'll skip the rest of that stuff and go straight to those episodes. Yeah. I mean, every now and then you can catch it every now and then. I think it used to be on MeTV or something like that. We used to see it, but I don't see it that much anymore. In fact, I can't remember seeing it. I
it's
see Wagon Train, but not Rawhide.
it's still on
Probably
me. It's
Mm,
either MeTV or Heroes and Icons. Is one of
right,
those two.
right, yeah,
Still on.
okay.
yeah.
All right. All right. Now let's get back to our programming with our Tromp Loy,
Would
unreliable narrators.
I was
Hmm.
gonna say would um things like Wise Guys, was it Wise Guys? Ray Liotta, Goodfellas.
Do you think
How
that wasn't
he's
real?
telling about all his life in the mob, and he didn't do anything dirty. It was always the other two that did the dirty stuff.
It's a good
He was the
point.
he was the picture perfect little. I'm just the innocent one in the middle of all of this.
And I'm just viewing everything. I'm just
Right.
the
I'm just
scrivener.
telling you what happened. I didn't do a
But I
single
think
thing wrong.
but it's
Oh,
interesting.
anybody connected with the mob, they say they ain't did anything. They
Right.
lying.
But it's
I didn't do a thing. It was all the other guys who beat up and killed and whatever, whatever.
but it's
You
very
need to
interesting
tell me how.
now that you mention it. Yeah, I don't recall him ever showing himself in the middle of any major decisions or taking any
Actions or
actions.
anything.
Yeah,
I was just watching everything happen to me around me.
yeah, that is interesting because I never thought of that. That he is actually probably an unreliable narrator, in that sense that he is never an actor, only a voyeur. So yeah, that never thought of that. I think that makes perfect sense because I never really thought about that. That he is always just such a ha 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 happy go lucky guy watching this guy do this and that and this happened to that guy, this happened to that other guy. And yeah, I never thought of that.
And Ray Lolita had those big eyes who could fool everybody. I'm just
Hmm.
because it was right after he had his stint on the soap where he played the really, really good guy that didn't do anything. Ray Lolita started as a
Yeah.
complete little innocent when he was in TV. So people just parlayed that character into Goodfellas.
Hmm.
And of course he wouldn't do anything. That's
I
Joey
never,
from another world.
I did not know
Wow,
that.
I did not know he was on the soaps.
Neither did I. Neither did I.
He was everything happened bad to Joey and all horrible things and he was just persecuted so much. And he went straight to Goodfellas and I was like, it can't be the same character type.
Wow. Yeah. Interesting. Anybody? I mean, I was thinking. I had a film I wrote down, but then I pulled back away from it because it's one of those films where I'll put it out there in an auto, and you can listen in and tell me what you think. And this is the film Witch. Has anybody seen Witch with
The
what
Witch.
the Witch with Joy? What's her name? The what is the one who was in Queen's Gambit, the chess thing? What is the girl's name? The young actress, not a girl anymore. Young woman's name.
Wait a minute, it sounds familiar. What is the plot? What?
These people who are in part of this colony, and they are super religious, and more religious than the people in the colony. They think they're more religious than people in the colony. So basically, start too much trouble. So they are put out, and they have to move beyond the colony, and they start their own little farm. way out in the wooded area, and along the edge of this woods, the character Anna Taylor Joy, that's her name, Anna Taylor Joy, tells this story about the witch, this witch. And while they are there, and she's telling the story about the witch, they have a little baby in the family. I don't think she's a sister. I think
Yeah,
she is like the hired hand girl.
yeah.
And when Anya Taylor Joy is playing with the baby, she looks and the baby is gone. She's playing peekaboo, and the baby just disappears. And she says basically the witch has taken the baby and run off with the baby into the woods. And uh, Otto and I have two different mindsets of this. I think that it is all in her head, but he thinks that it is real. That this is real, this stuff that has happened. I think it's in her head. So that one, because I mean, some crazy stuff happens because they have this big ram, this black ram in their yard,
Right, right. Yeah,
and then
yeah.
Black Phillip, the little tutor, Black Phillip, and then like Black Phillip, the ram starts talking to her.
Well, you know,
Wouldst thou live
it's po-
deliciously?
it's possible that you guys are both right.
Yeah.
It's possible that you guys are both right because sometimes films are made to look at it from different
Well,
perspectives.
I think the Trunk Lloyd films, they could they're that can't happen. It can only be one right, because in the film like Psycho,
Hmm.
uh, uh, he's his mother. He's dressed up as his mother. There's no, I mean,
Hmm.
he sits in the room later on and he thinks like his mother, and he's thinking, the cops are looking at him, and he's saying, "Look at this old woman. She couldn't hurt a fly." He's completely gone. But there's no doubt he dressed like his mother. He did all this, and then in Fight Club, is the character has done all this stuff there's no doubt about it. He's done it. And in the Sixth Sense, there's no doubt that what's the name is the character that Bruce Willis plays is dead. There's no doubt about it.
Hmm.
So and in the movie and in the Twilight Zone episode, um, the one with Ellie Mae in it, there's no doubt that this society views beauty on a different standard than we
Hmm.
typically do. And the
No,
same thing,
But
yeah.
my
yeah.
question is, but what about the witch? The
The witch to me, you know, it's not doubtful. It's not in doubt, and maybe in doubt to you. I mean, like James said, you could be of two minds, and I think that's because you're of two minds. I think it's not a true Trunk Lloyd film.
Well, I mean, because in this one you say definitively that what happens is real, and I say definitively what happens is in her head. So so you think it is not Trump Lloyd because you think this stuff actually happened. I think it's Trump Lloyd
I think it's a
because
trunk. I think it's
she
not a Trunk
is.
Lloyd. I think it's not a Trunk Lloyd is because we both could be right, and that Trunk Lloyd film, there can't be two rights. There's only one right.
Or it's just that you're not seeing it correctly. That it just right.
Okay.
So
No,
yeah.
I well see that's what I think directors, producers, whatever. This is in certain cases, this is what they go for. They want the discussion. They want the debate. Okay. Um, in a sense with the Planet of the Apes. You know.
Yeah, there's only one.
Hmm.
There's only one right.
Yeah.
Right.
The right is the fact that he thought, like a lot of science fiction movies or episodes, people think they're going to outer space or going to another planet, but they're
Right.
actually coming right back to Earth. And the Earth that he came back to is the Earth, basically run by apes. And New York City or the Statue of Liberty
Hmm.
is underground. There's no two ways about it.
Well, again, that's that's the magic of television and cinema. I
Hmm.
think some movies you can look at in one way, some movies you could look at it another way. Um, a lot of movies, their greatness is at in the twist at the end, and some
And the
movies,
twist at the end, if a film has a twist, in my mind, it should explain everything, not cause you to be like, huh? It should explain, aha, aha, I get it. You know?
Yeah, it has to be a twist. It can't be a lie. Like in
Right.
in the in the in the movie Straw with Tyler Perry. The,
Hmm.
the movie is a lie. To me, it's a lie.
yeah,
It,
and see that's what I said as
Hmm.
as a writer. Most editors will shy away from something like that. That's a letdown at the end, or the other thing where it was all a dream.
It has to be done
Okay,
correctly. You
it it,
can't
it
just
yeah, I can't.
right,
The Dallas episode is a dream is just you were lying to the audience basically.
right.
It's a lie.
And see, you could also have cliffhangers, right?
yes.
Because like in my short story collection that just came out earlier this year, one of those stories I have a cliffhanger
Hmm.
where my main protagonist, they find out who the killer is, and sometimes you have to, like with my editor, I had to explain to him, what exactly I'm trying to do, because he was getting ready to put an ending to it. I was like, whoa, 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 wait a minute. Whoa, what are you doing? And, and I meant it to be a cliffhanger so that when the second volume of short stories comes out, you'll find out who the killer is,
Uh-huh.
you know. So yeah, with the unreliable narrator, it's very tricky. You have to do it right. Like you said, if you don't do it right, people are gonna be like, "What?"
Yeah, you just
Yeah.
lied to me. I mean, like you take a movie like The Usual Suspects. Is
Hmm.
that a
Right,
trunk? Is that a trunk Lloyd film? I mean, Sizer Kose is in. We don't
Kaiser
know who
Sose.
we don't know who he is at
Yeah.
in the beginning, but
Right.
he's not the narrator though, right? He's not the
Right.
narrator.
And he's not. He's not the narrator. And the other person is not unreliable. They're just they just don't have complete knowledge.
yeah. I just think that was a hell of a twist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a hell of a twist. Whatever you think about what's his face,
Kevin Spacey.
yeah, that was a hell of a twist at the end.
And the
You
thing
know,
that's really interesting, I read somewhere that none of them knew whether they were Kaiser Sose.
Yeah.
ah,
Yeah, they said that Gabriel Byrne was actually upset when he found out that it wasn't him.
He was not Kaiser Sose. And apparently the Kaiser Sose name is what it's supposed to be, somebody like Caesar Sume or something like that. And it was actually their attorney, their attorney whom they hated. This was a story that's what the name. They say he was so evil that they named the character, like a off of a twist on the name of their attorney that they hated.
yeah, that's that. Listen, that's how you do it. I've killed account managers and project managers in my story. Listen,
Yeah,
Ex-boyfriends,
yeah,
the women they left me for.
yeah, yeah,
that's what you do.
I had one beheaded, so
yeah. There you
See,
go.
see,
There you
see.
go. Let's say don't make those writers mad. Don't
We
make them
don't get
mad.
you with a gun, but we'll get you with a pen.
That's right. The
Mm.
pen is mightier,
What
right?
is it? What is it in
the
Lion of
pen
the
is
Desert?
forever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Eliza the desert with Ashley Quinn. They may have the desert by day, but by God, we have it by night.
Oh, we had okay. One a film I put
Mm.
on, but I took it off because I realized that it didn't fall into the proper category, even though it had like the quote unquote twist ending. Was Skeleton Key because it wasn't real. We were kind of like following the the attorney who was helping the main character and the main character. So the main character did not know what the heck was going on, but the attorney knew what was going on. And this whole thing, did everybody see Skeleton Key?
Mm.
No.
That's with Johnny Depp.
Oh, uh, the
No,
what's got it?
no.
Secret Window is Johnny Depp.
Right.
Skeleton Key was Kate Hudson, and what is the guy's name? I can't remember the actor's name, but it started out like I guess during Reconstruction or the end of slavery, and there these people they were
Oh, I heard about it. Yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah.
that they were enslaved, and that they were doing some voodoo. They said I guess somewhere near New Orleans, and they were doing some voodoo, and the family f- caught the people doing all this voodoo, and they took the man and his wife, who the servants, the black people, the servants, and hanged them. And so they had this sullying of this home based on the murder of these two people. And so they did this because they were basically introducing the children, these Anglo children, to their little voodoo ritual stuff. And so of course they get up there, they take the people, they've hanged them, and the old woman who lives there now, who is it? Is it Jenna Rollins who played the old woman who needed somebody there to kind of take care of her? So she had this young woman there to take care of her, and the young woman who took care of her was the Kate Hudson character, and basically she realized that this woman is probably up to no good, and so she has to learn how to do this, I guess, this ritual to
Yeah,
protect
then they had the
herself.
lawyer too. The lawyer who's her husband,
Yeah, the
which I found
lawyer.
funny. The funny was like law,
Yeah,
law. What was it? Law for Dummies. Like one of the
yeah.
dumbest
He got a book called Lawyering for Dummies sitting on
for
his.
dummy book.
Yeah. So you find out at the very end, like this Kate Hudson character has her bestie, this young black woman, who is there with her, and she's like, "Look, this is stuff you don't want to mess with. Get away from it as soon as humanly possible." But yet she thinks she can do this thing, and so she goes in, she does this ritual, and the next thing you know, she gets up, she wakes up, she's fine. But of course, she's not herself. She is the Jenna Rollins character who is now in her body. And the she is in the Jenna Rollins old lady body that is dying and stuff. And so when she comes out, the lawyer comes out and tells her, he looks at herself, she goes, "Could you just got me a black one?" And he says, "The black ones never stay, you know that."
Oh, shit.
So they were originally, the whole point is that the two people that were hanged, the husband and wife who were into the voodoo, they had already changed places with the little children. So when they hanged the bodies of those people, the two black people, they actually had hanged the two little children, and the black servants were now the two little children in the household. And they, that was the thing. So I think that the main character was the Kate Hudson character. She was not the unreliable narrator, but the attorney was the unreliable narrator, and so was the old woman, because they're playing it like she's an old lady and she just needs some help, blah blah blah. And he's like, "I'm her attorney and I'm trying to help her, blah blah blah." But basically, what he's doing is trying to get her a new body. He already got his new body, and now he's trying to get her hers. And she's like, so when she looks at herself, like, "He's got me a black one," because of course they're trying to get, but the black ones never stay because they're
Mm.
always like, "Nah, I'm out of here. This is no, this ain't right." They can never trick one of them. So there you go. So yeah, that it does have unreliable narrators, but they're not the main characters.
How about the movie Gaslight? Gaslighting. Gaslighting or gaslight?
Gaslight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Gaslight. Is
Yeah.
that narrated? Is that a unreliable narrator?
No, she's being tricked by her gaslit by her crappy mean husband. So no, I think it's just a mystery. I think it's gaslighting, just making her think she's going crazy. But she doesn't believe, that she's just been made to believe that she's crazy and that this man, I mean, I'm going to tell you that film, I didn't see that until I was, I don't know, maybe my 40s that I saw that film. I'd heard about it for years. And wow, that film, wow. Uh, That guy, what a jerk. I mean, he really, really, wow, what a jerk to do the things he did to that poor woman, and make her think that she is losing her mind.
But the version with Charles Boyer, Ingrid
Yeah,
Bergman, right?
that's the one.
I think
That's
there's
the one.
another version, but it's not
But
that.
that's the one I saw. Wow, that was incredible. I mean,
Yeah,
you think,
yeah,
yeah.
that's the version that everybody gravitates to. Yeah.
All right, and I know we're getting down to the end of the show, but I want to put in one more comment that was made in the chat room. That was the usual suspects, of course, the Wizard of Oz, the butterfly effect. So, what do you think about the Wizard of Oz? Do you think that does that count because it's a dream, correct? So we said that dreams don't count, right?
Dreams don't count because you don't actually involve the. I mean, I'm making these rules up and go along, but
Yeah, but I
I
mean,
mean,
but I think it's
dreams
I
don't
think
count because you don't actually interact with other people
accepting your dream.
except in your dream. You know, if Fight Club and Sixth Sense is the apex of it, then you're interacting with other people,
Hmm.
and the audience is seeing that you're interacting with other people,
Right,
and so it looks real to them.
right.
Yeah, but just
And
like a Trump law is a thing
it
that's
tricks
painted
the
on a
eye.
wall or
Hmm.
something that looks real, but it's not. Like someone
Hmm.
will paint like something like a forest, or they'll
Hmm.
paint like a window, or something that looks like a genuine window,
Oh,
but
they
it's
paint
not a.
wood to make it look like marble.
Yeah, but and it's
It's
not.
not.
It's Trump. It's
Yeah,
Trump. It's fake. So it's Trump Lloyd. So it looks like that. But then you go to open it or
touch
whatever, like
it.
yeah,
And
it's fake as anything.
hmm
Well, something I just thought of, I never, in all these years, I never thought of it before, is that one way to tell whether or not this stuff really happened to Dorothy, we never saw whether or not she still had the ruby slippers when she woke up.
You don't see her feet.
Yeah.
yeah, she's in bed under the cover.
Yeah,
So my presumption is that she just had
she got knocked in
a
the head.
and do we also presume that while she was out and about, and did Elmira Gulch die? Was she
We
killed
have no
in the
idea.
storm? Which
We
is
don't
why
know.
the witch was had the house fall on her.
Well,
Do you think?
it's possible that the answers to those questions might be in the other books because the Wizard of Oz, it was just one of like think maybe 6 or 7 books
Mm.
about Oz. So
Yeah, I think I read them all.
yeah,
I don't remember them saying anything about that, about
But
what
but
happened to
the
her.
other thing about these what these films and TV episodes rely on is the fact that you have to buy in.
Hmm.
It doesn't work unless you buy in.
yeah, and another thing, real quick about the Wizard of Oz, the film version is absolutely positively different from the book.
Hmm.
Because I think in the book, now that I think about it, I think the shoes or slippers were silver.
Yeah, they were not ruby slippers, but I
Yeah,
guess they look better on the Technicolor.
yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, and
And then
okay.
then the question is the entire movie with the Wiz with Diana Ross in the lead, was that entire movie a Trunk Lloyd thing happening, or
We'll
did it
pretend
really
that never
happen?
happened.
Or did it really?
We're gonna pretend that never happened. It was complete trompe l'oeil. We were all fooled. That didn't happen at all. I know what it said. The last film that was listed here is The Butterfly Effect, and I saw that so many years ago. I cannot remember. I
Ashton
remember there's a thing
Kutcher.
like him going back into
Ashton.
the past. Yeah, Ashton Kutcher, and he kept going back in the past, changing up things that happened in his past. And was it real or was it not?
But
Was
wouldn't that
he?
be time travel?
It was, I think, time travel to some degree,
Mhm.
but is it all? Was he
I
really
don't think it
time
was a
traveling or
dream.
was he not?
I don't think it was a dream though.
But what do we think it was? That it didn't happen? It did happen.
I think it did happen. I
And so
think.
we're to take that as that this is real. That this is not,
Yeah.
some sort of a unreliable narrator. These things are going on and happening.
As
So
far
that
as I,
ultimately, when he goes through life, the only way that everybody stays quote unquote safe is that he and that girl never meet when they're young.
yeah, I think it was different outcomes, right?
Yeah. But the only way that everybody, nobody gets harmed, hurt, whatever, is that they don't meet. They don't become friends. Like he sees her on the street and that's it. That they aren't, because every other way that they try to remain in each other's lives, something goes wrong. So,
Okay, so that means that I failed because actually I went back in time to stop that movie from being made,
oh no, you failed. Oh
and
no.
I guess,
Well,
I guess I have to go back again.
it's like the movies or episodes that people always try to go back and either assassinate Hitler or prevent Abraham Lincoln from being assassinated,
Yeah.
and it never works.
Yeah, it never works. I thought the one that was on was it Twilight Zone? Maybe it was The Outer Limits, where the woman goes back and she tries to kill Hitler as a baby, and she feels really bad about it. But she jumps in, she gets the baby. Ultimately, she's supposed to be their housekeeper. She gets him, and she runs to the river and jumps into the river with the baby. And that's it kills the baby.
And
But
that
then
that that gives Benito Mussolini a chance to come.
no, no. What happens is that the wife or whoever it is that comes out and like, oh, ish, she ain't got that baby. She pays some woman, some poor woman, and takes her baby. So here he is now. Here's the baby. Found him outside. Everything's cool,
And that baby grows up to be
and
Hitler.
that's the baby that grows up to be Hitler. So she kills the actual baby, but then this new baby is the one who ends up being the Hitler. So
Or
there
like
we
in the
go.
Twilight Zone episode, where the guy wants to prevent Lincoln from being assassinated, and nobody believes him. It's like,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But except for John Wilkes Booth, he believes him and drugs him, so he can
Yeah.
go ahead
right.
and do this thing. Yeah.
I think the same thing happened. Richard Basehart was in one of them. He tried to prevent Lincoln from being assassinated, and then bad stuff happens to him too. It's one of those
Oh
hour,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
one of those
yeah.
hour-long Twilight Zones.
Mm.
Yeah, that's when Rod Serling and company they started going they started going back in the writers' room and going through old.
Old scripts.
Yeah.
Yeah. What can we rehash? What can we
How do
recycle
we
here,
stop
man?
Lincoln from being assassinated?
Let's
No.
recycle this to part 17.
Yeah.
Recycle it.
Why don't you just put Hitler back in time and have Hitler assassinate Lincoln?
Okay. There you go. So he's gonna do what? Okay. There
Yeah,
we go.
You have Hitler assassinate Lincoln, and then everybody they
Yeah, there you go. There we go. Okay.
no, then they trap him down like
Okay.
we
Okay.
Oh,
There was one
no
thing about
they trap him down and then they shoot him, and then
Okay.
two birds, one stone.
I don't think.
and then again, Benito Mussolini becomes.
Okay, there we go. Making way for Benito Mussolini. There we go.
well, there was one thing they did on Robot Chicken once where it was at the end of the Planet of the Apes, and Charlton Heston is saying all the things about they really did it and all of that and stuff, and it says why didn't this happen? And then the one that I never thought of says, and why did trained astronauts not look up at the sky one time and notice where the stars were?
Well, that's that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe they kept Taylor inside and they killed one of the other guys, and the other one they gave a lobotomy, and so he
Well,
just didn't think about that. So yeah,
I
I
was
don't
like,
know. Okay, I don't know.
Hmm.
Mom,
well,
look, it's a man.
well. Did Taylor had he hooked up with a Playboy centerfold, so it's like
All's good.
whatever, y'all.
All's
Yeah,
good.
Y'all can ape it up all y'all want.
yo, what?
I'm out of here.
Yeah. All right, y'all. Well, it looks like we're kind of at the end of our time here. And again, if there's any topics that you all hear and you want us to cover on this show, certainly, contact any of us on Facebook and let us know, and we will definitely put those things out there. And what do we have this week? Anything interesting coming up? Anything interesting happening or has happened?
Oh, I'm going to watch Frankenstein Island on
Okay,
YouTube. Yeah.
on YouTube,
And
Frankenstein Island.
it has your favorite actor in it too, John Carradine.
Okay.
Whoa, whoa, John
And
Carradine.
can I
He was
can
very
I
mean to us, though.
may I ask what is it about?
It's well, it's about some people that end up on on Frankenstein Island. What do you want?
I mean, but belonging to Dr. Victor Frankenstein or belonging to the monster Frankenstein?
Well, actually, spoiler alert, I saw it already. No, Franken, Frankenstein is kept down in a cave until the end. And here's the thing to tell you what this movie is about. These gentlemen get shipwrecked on the island, right?
Mhm.
And they on the beach and they're talking about building a raft. The only problem is they have in their hands the raft that they came onto the beach with.
So why don't they just
So
why don't they use that one?
what I you tell me. And then throughout most of the picture, John Carradine, he's not even in the picture. They impose his face onto it, and all he talks about is the power, the power.
Okay.
Oh
Well, I
Lord,
guess the easiest money he ever made, huh?
yes, yes,
He got paid.
he
Yeah.
got
But why
paid.
why why did they name it Frankenstein Island? Why not like Long Island or
And
Coney Island or something like that?
because Frankenstein is down in the cave
And Frankenstein's a
somewhere.
marketable entity.
Yeah, and also I guess maybe it has something to do because they have Van Helsing on the island, and he
Ah,
spends most of the time in bed. Okay,
okay.
he's
What
not.
Van Helsing
Why?
got to do with Frankenstein?
I don't understand, but
I don't
okay.
know. I
That's not
don't
like
bloody know.
it's not like Confucius Island to me.
Oh my goodness.
And and the thing about it, they started to make this picture in the early '70s, but ran out of money and couldn't finish it until 1980.
I wonder why.
Wow.
Why did when they ran out of money?
Hmm.
Frankenstein Island.
Another thing to say, possibly for next week, if anybody's interested in watching Sinners, and that we can, hook it up so everybody
Oh,
gets to.
I already saw it.
All right. Anybody else not see it?
I didn't see it.
I
I'm
didn't see it
going
yet.
to. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
can,
I mean, it'd be a nice idea.
Only
wait a minute.
thing,
I didn't hear who saw it and who didn't. I said Nikki said you didn't see it.
Yes, she did say that. And Sonia, I think, also said she did not see it yet. So are
Yet.
you all going to see it? Because I would love to discuss Sinners.
I'm
Okay.
trying.
Probably not.
Okay. But I
Now
think what we're gonna do is it is on what?
Next.
Cinemax?
So
Yeah,
Max.
next.
But I want to
Max.
know why Nikki won't see it. Why wouldn't? I mean, like it doesn't have some religious thing in it that you don't want to see, or what is it?
Mm-mm.
She's not a big movie
No,
buff.
I'm not a movie
Or you don't
person.
like movies?
She's not a
well,
big movie buff.
Remember I told you if a movie is more than 30 minutes, I start losing
Well,
interest.
you saw That's Way of the World though. You took your
I
brother to
no,
see
lost
but
that.
I
I
lost
think
interest in that too the second time I saw it.
I
But
think I think you would be. I think you would like the montage part of it. Okay,
Hmm.
the
yeah,
montage
you'll be
part.
missing out of it. You're missing out. But you
Yeah.
put Pam Grier, Big Daddy Kane, and he'd be watching it then, wouldn't you?
I sure would. How did you know?
There we go. There we go. But
Big
yeah, I
and
think
big.
that.
And Chuck D has to be Chuck D also.
Yeah, but I think that it'd be a good idea. It'd be fun for us to watch to see that what we all take from it. And I guess we can discuss juxtaposition of Sinners against other Kugler works and other works regarding the vampire genre and the subgenre of vampires. So what do y'all say? Yay, nay?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, what
Uh
about
huh.
What about
Yes.
Kugler's? What about Kugler's Ironheart? Anybody see that yet?
I got to see the first 3 episodes.
And what are your thoughts?
I'm enjoying it. It's not like the other Disney Plus stuff that was produced, where it was one long movie they just chopped up into pieces. This actually feels more like episodic TV,
Hmm.
telling one big long story.
Yeah, well, I'm watching it now. I think I'm close to the end, and I find that the later episodes are far superior to the ones at the beginning.
So,
And I think that I mean, what can you do with casting? When they cast in some instances, I think some of the wrong people in this, and some of the characters that they created, I think are also not a lot over the
well,
top.
well, I know that they took a lot of the comic book characters and completely changed their connection to the universe.
Mm.
Some
Well, I
of the
mean,
characters were like one character was supposed to be a badder character than the Ramos character, and he's a a busy bee worker type thing. And so they take a lot of the characters that are already existed in the universe, but change their backstory so dramatically.
yeah. I mean, I just some of the characterizations of some of the characters they could have worked a little more. That's all. And I think, but I said the later episodes are superior to the earlier ones.
Okay,
So if you
I'm
are
looking forward.
watching it,
Yeah.
and if you're teetering, on the edge of deciding whether or not to finish, I would say if you're in it this far, then you
Hmm.
should probably go ahead and try to finish it.
Yeah, I didn't finish. I couldn't finish. What was it? The one with the scroll, the Nick Fury one that bombed. So I'm looking forward to
Yeah,
finishing
you know
this
what?
one.
I don't think I got past the first episode of that one. I
I
don't think
didn't
I did.
watch the last two.
I don't think I
That
got past the
was
first.
yeah.
So yeah, I think I think the problem is though it's like a little bit of Marvel overload. It used to be that a Marvel um, piece, part of their library came out, and it was an event, and now it's just like any other
It's
day.
right.
They've lost the specialness.
You know what? Marvel is becoming like their comic books in the late '70s. It used to be everybody used to wait for the next episode of whatever Marvel put out, and then
Hmm.
they started put out a whole bunch of schlock,
Yeah.
like a comic book called Frankenstein Island or something like that. And then after that, you don't wait around for the on the newsstand waiting for the
Yeah.
next Marvel
Yeah.
comic book anymore. That's what's it's becoming
Mhm.
1979 Marvel.
No,
Just
I
cranking
think
out stuff, hoping to get the most money they can for the stuff they just crank out. But the one character though, and I can't remember her name because I'm really bad at it, but it was a Z, I think, and she is the little sorceress girl in this. I think she's excellent. I think
I
yes,
haven't gotten to her yet.
yeah,
Yeah.
they should have their own show, and so
Cree
they close.
Summers, she's Cree Summers' daughter in the thing,
Yes,
right?
to the character, the character that is Cree Summer's daughter is yes, very good.
It
Uh,
does make me sad that Marvel has already decided that we're not going to promote any of the TV characters or bring any of the film characters down to TV and TV characters up because I think a lot of the characters were shortchanged. They were in things that should have been movies. They made them into TV shows.
But you know what? Marvel started out with Daredevil, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones is the one I did not like. Oh no, I lie. Iron Fist I also did not like.
I was
But they
thinking
still
that,
did a good
yeah.
job of trying to put it
Uh
out
huh.
there. Those were fantastic. I mean, that was
Second
That was the
season,
pinnacle
s-
of.
second season Iron Fist I liked better than first season.
I didn't like anything of Iron Fist. I mean, it was better because I think they had the introduction of like Luke Cage and I can't remember the young woman's name was the
Misty Knight
no,
and
I think the young Asian
yeah,
woman,
that's who
her.
I'm hoping they bring her back as Iron Fist.
Well,
I don't know
if
what
you
they're
didn't
going.
see
Anybody
this,
is better than Finn Jones. What his name is? He
if
was
you didn't see
terrible.
this season's Daredevil, you missed it.
Wow.
It was really good and just so appropriate for this
Hmm.
political atmosphere.
Yeah, I mean, it's like were they being prophets or something? I mean, they were like nailing this stuff. So yeah, it's fantastic. But Daredevil has always been just the pinnacle of television. I mean, for any type of drama, for the caped dramas, it is probably the best one that there's ever been done. And nobody would expect that it would be something like Daredevil, but it really is fantastic. And they dropped the ball with Luke Cage. I was really, sad about that. Punisher is holding its own, not quite as good as Daredevil, but certainly holding its own. So those things, I think, even
And
though,
the animated Spider-Man, which I thought I wouldn't like, I
yeah,
I I wound up liking. I can't believe it. And I liked it.
hmm yeah. So I feel like some of the work they're doing is quite good on the small screen, and I think that they give the actors at least a longer life, to be able to do their work on the small screen and make their money, working on the
Hmm.
small screen. So I think it's great.
Well, you saw the Thunderbolts, but
Yes, I did.
you're not holding your breath for that to come to the small screen.
No, I'm not. And in fact, I don't even know why they did a film. I really don't know why they did a film for the Thunderbolts. It was okay, but I'm just wondering what the big
I see
deal
why they
was.
did the film. I think they should have done the film 2 years earlier.
I think they could have kept that off the screen completely and forever. I just don't see what the necessity was of doing Thunderbolt at all. And ah, somebody also mentioned again. Our guest in the chat says this. I'm going to let them say it themselves. I'm not going to say it out loud. Here we go. Did the panel mention The Matrix as a possible Trump Lloyd film?
I thought about it.
Yeah, I did too. But I think that he took the pill, so
Yeah, but was it all in his head or was it all imaginary? Or they're programming him to think this all happened, or did it actually happen?
And well, they asked the same question. What is the show Ragnarok with the
Hmm.
kid who is the modern day incarnation of Thor? At the end of it, they're kind of it's like no, he was just going through some kind of psychosis.
Well, what?
After entire seasons, they ended with this concept that no, he was just going through some psychosis. But
Well,
other
what?
people say no, it was the psychosis only existed as to the final battle and not everything else. So we don't know, but people say it was supposed to be a commentary on mental illness, but you go for two whole seasons dealing with these issues, these mythological issues as if they're real, and then say, okay, no, you were just having a psychotic break. Many people are not happy with it. So yeah, I think the same thing. The Matrix, if you're saying that no, this is not real, this is some guy having a psychotic break. I don't know. I think people would not have come back for a 2 and a 3 and a 4 if they thought that this was just.
Well, what about Videodrome?
Oh, but I hated that movie.
But is it? Is it? I mean, is it the unreliable narrator or?
I think when you get a video, and it was what you call it, a VHS tape, and stick it in somebody's body. What is the video God made real? What is that thing? I can't remember. And believe me, I've only seen that movie once in my life, and that I actually remember that film because it just horrified me so much. Um, no, and that the whole thing, her like the Deborah Harry character with the snuff films and stuff like that. It's like she wanted to go beyond the film because that's just craziness to me. I did not like that film, and I think either he was crazy or the world is crazy because people do not get videotapes stuck into their body and then they get played. That's just no. It's just there's something crazy going on there. That's not
Well,
real.
unless you're into that, so
Even if you're into it, your body is not a video recording player. You cannot stick a VHS tape into your guts at any time and survive, and that's it. That does not happen ever. So it's something. It's in somebody's head. It's craziness, you know. I mean, I don't think that it is Tromp Loy because it's not an unreliable narrator. It is a crazy person, and we know they're a crazy person.
Well, they're unreliable, right?
Well, it is true. Okay, yeah, that crazy person is unreliable. So yeah, Videodrome. Oh my goodness gracious, what a piece of garbage. That's like, I mean, I'm sorry. There are a lot of people who really enjoy that kind of body
David
horror.
Corner, David Cronenberg.
Cronenberg and Clive Barker, that type of body horror. I'm not one of them. You know, I mean, if it's something that happens and it makes sense for it to happen, that something happens to someone's body, I get it. But the whole point is like, hey, something I would like to see something happen to somebody's body. Let me write a movie that justifies it. That's how I feel about Clive Barker and David Cronenberg.
Well, the good part about Video Drone is that
That's
what
the
was
good part.
no, to me
It
the good
ended. The
part.
ending. That it ended and then they had
No,
credits that
the
rolled.
good
Go ahead.
part now is that I like the fact that what's his name, James Woods was suffering through it because I can't deal with him. I can't fuck with him.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
he's too much of a MAGA nut these days.
mm,
These are people who thought that they, you know, they think entitlement. They live in a world of entitlement. And when their time passes them by, which it does for everyone, then they are upset and they want the world to stop and roll back to the period when they had what they thought they deserved. You know, but time goes on. Sometimes your time comes and then it goes. That's all.
Yeah,
Accept it.
I wish somebody would tell him, John Voight, Mel Gibson, Sylvester Stallone, tell
Yeah.
them, let them know.
I mean, but again, you know, people try to hang on. You know, this is their things. Like I want to roll time back to with the period when everybody was watching me, all eyes were on me, and they were saying I was talented and they loved me and whatever you know they wanted. That when my life, when I was young and my body responded to things the way that I wanted it to, and that's not
It's
happening.
stupid.
So they,
It's like Muhammad Ali. If Muhammad Ali was like, he's the greatest of all time, he's the GOAT, and then he started to age and he started to lose fights, and then he became a conservative.
yeah,
It doesn't
because
make any sense because I can't do it anymore, and now younger people are doing it, and I can't do it anymore. I hate everybody now.
but yeah, that's
Yeah,
basically what it is, and that's
yeah.
what it is. The cult of I hate everybody because I
mm.
can't have everything the way that it used to be when I was young, and you can't get that back. And they never learned how to grow up and didn't learn how to grow old.
Well, that's why I give Mark Hamill credit because he came out, I think, a couple of months ago and said, "Listen, I'm done. Enough Star Wars. Time to move on." You
Right.
know.
Because it's time to grow up and grow old. It's okay to grow older. To let go. Somebody said when I was a child, I spake as a child. And then I have to put away childish things. And these individuals never put away childish things. They're into magical thinking, you know, and that everything is the fantasy that they're supposed to live. And they should be given everything that they desire. And even if you're lying, they don't care. If you're
Well,
lying and saying you like them,
I think
they don't
also
care.
they believe their own
The hype.
hype, their
Hmm.
own hype, their headlines, their bio
Yeah.
items in the news.
But even if you believe it, sometimes it's time to quit.
Well,
And
but
say,
it
yeah,
was easy. It was easier for them to be liberal back then because they were young and handsome and pretty, and they got everything they wanted. And doors were always open. But then when doors started to close, it's like,
yeah. And I talk about, unreliable narrators, man. They are the ultimate unreliable narrators. You know, They they burn all the books so that you can't read the facts, and swear, that up is down and down is up, because that serves them instead of becoming adults and accepting reality.
Oh,
One.
so what happened to the Hollywood committee that Trump created? That's gonna be John Boyd, Mel Gibson, and Sly Stallone. They were all the three of them supposed to go to Hollywood and straighten Hollywood out.
That man is a liar. He lies all the time.
Yeah,
So
Ambassador's work is never
why believe
done.
any of why believe any of that?
yeah. I think it's.
Penelope, are you getting toward your 2 hours?
Yes, I am. We are, 1 hour 50, so it's time to get going. Again, thank you all so much. Next week it will be Sinners, so please, see it. It's out now on Max, so that we can talk and discuss uh, this vampire trope, cultural history, all these things, Afro Southern history, all these things. I mean, just Southern history, and how the Midwest was one, Southwest was one, Southeast was one. These kind of things that we deal with. I mean, I think it's really, wonderful, the types of individuals who are involved in this, that are they put on the screen, and to discuss that, what do you call it, that cultural goulash that is the American Southeast. So thank you so much. We'll be back again next week, same time, same place. And everybody take care of yourselves, and what do you say? Good luck.